Human rights came into question recently when a 5-year-old child died after falling into a pit toilet at a school in the Eastern Cape. eNCA's Dasen Thathiah is in Bizana. He joins us now live. Dasen, of course, you've been speaking to community members and several former students of this school. What have they been telling you?
Shahan, just to explain something before I start, if you're wondering about the activity behind me, I was just as confused as you are, but pupils at this school, at Luna Primary School, where young Lumka was killed, or rather died, they are attending school today, they're attending classes, and I was wondering why that is, so I asked one of the kids, but apparently they're doing some form of revision today. But Shahan, to come back to your question, yes, that's right, community members want answers. Their main concern here is the issue of infrastructure. When we were driving through this morning, we drove along one of the main roads here, and I promise you that road is in such a bad state that if you can do more than 20 or 30 kilometers on that road without damaging your vehicle, that will be a feat in itself. But that's also the same road that pupils walk along to get to schools like Luna Primary. They leave very early in the morning, looking at about 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Some of the community members said to us that they walk sometimes up to 10 kilometers to get to school. And when they get to school, you know, their challenges are not over, because we know that schools like Luna Primary behind me and the other ones in the Bizana area also still use pit toilets, and there isn't running water here. They rely on tanks. When those dry up, there isn't any water available. And this is what these kids go through before getting to school, and then have to do all of this afterwards just to get back. So the community wants to see more being done. They admit that there has been progress. You remember the former student I spoke to as well. He mentioned that things have improved drastically in terms of the way the school looks, because the buildings have improved. It used to be made of mud previously when he was here, but now it's a brick structure. The toilets, however, have not changed, and it's still pit toilets that they're using here. But they want to see more being done. They want more time frames, because government officials have come here. The MEC for Education has come here. The provincial government leaders have been here, especially after Lumka's death, talking about what needs to be done. But there aren't any answers about exactly when that will be done and when they'll see the changes in those very, very, very basic items that they need, looked at.
Well, that's the most absurd thing that you hear regarding this. Officials coming to this town now saying that they're assessing the situation, they're going to work on it. The reality is this, and you and I know this, that last year there were still 4,624 pit toilets at schools across the country. Government has been promising to work on this issue for years, yet again in 2018 we're facing a very bleak situation when it comes to pit toilets. So paying lip service to this community really means nothing, doesn't it?
That's right. To me, really, it looks, Shahan, like a case of buying time. So there is an incident. You have these high-profile visits. You have these leaders coming through, and they're saying the same thing now that has been said in previous visits when there've been other incidents. You know, it's not just about toilets. You'll remember one of the community members told me that one of the children was attacked, was stabbed in February. And there have been other similar incidents as well. And this now points to the issue of transport and how these kids get to school. But there are no real answers. And it's actually a shame, Shahan, that you find that there are movements like Equal Education having to fight the Department of Education in order for them to provide the most basic of services. Equal Education has been pushing the department to implement its norms and standards to ensure that children have dignity when they attend classes, because that's not what they should be worrying about at this point. They should be here to further their education, but they're having to worry about all these other issues like transportation and safety and, as I said, and their dignity when they use facilities like the ones that are available at schools like this. And this is not a problem that's unique to Bizana. It's not a problem that's unique to the Eastern Cape. We see this in KZN as well. You know that we've seen this in Limpopo as well. So it seems to be a nationwide issue, and progress on this front, on that most basic level, is very slow.
Yeah, it's a disgrace and a bad reflection on education authorities. And let's talk about the Human Rights Commission's intervention in this matter. What is it saying?
Well, Look, the Human Rights Commission is one of those that is now pushing for some kind of eradication or answers on why we still have pit toilets. You'll see that the president has also now, given the education minister an ultimatum to get a report on exactly why we still have pit toilets and how many schools are still dealing with this problem. And that's all fine and well, Shahan. It's all fine and well that this conversation is happening. It is unfortunate that Lumka had to lose her life before this conversation took place. We've got all sectors of society coming on board and supporting this cause for the eradication of pit toilets. But my concern here, Shahan, is that will this fade away in a few months and, we won't hear anything about it until a year or two when, heaven forbid, something else happens. And that is the concern that the community shares as well, because they are happy that it has created these talks across the country and that these agencies are now taking action or seem to be taking action. But ultimately it comes back to the implementers, so the people that have the budget to do this. You'll remember about 2 years ago, Shahan, there was a report about the issue of budget in the Eastern Cape and how money wasn't spent. So that raises other questions about money. There is money, but are the people that are meant to be using that money to implement these very basic needs, are they actually doing so? And that's a question that now needs to be answered by education officials.
Yeah, people definitely need to be held accountable, and we need to watch out and make sure that they are. That's our reporter Dasen Thathiah in Bizana in the Eastern Cape.